These two headlines just confirm something massive. One, the U.S. military is moving to buy 1 million drones. Golly. And two, they just told the industry to build 300,000 of them immediately, fast and cheap. Now, that's not a test. That's production. And so when the Pentagon shifts to mass production, supply chains also shift. But it also lets us understand the dynamic of how important this is, because now budgets begin to shift. And we all know that military spending is one of our biggest spending, what we do. But also portfolios that aren't positioned, well, you get left behind. When we looking at the military moves like this wasn't a future trend. Nah, family. This is already funded. And once this scales, you don't have to catch the first wave because the play is already intact. So in the next 30 minutes, I'm going to show you something. Why drones became the center of modern warfare. Why this is major manufacturing that's about to take place and is going to shift how militaries maneuver, and where the real money is going inside of the drone stack, because it has a stack. And if you understand this shift early, you don't have to reach the headlines. You don't got to react to the headlines. You don't have to act like you're missing out. You don't even got to run for it, because I'm going to give you the formula. Now, before we get into this video, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and make sure you share this video with somebody, because this is one of them ones that's going to help you position yourself. So every era has a weapon that changes the math. Guns change the armor, jets change the distance, and cyber change the infrastructure. Well, drones change the most important thing of everything: cost. Hear me out. If a $500 drone can destroy a $5 million vehicle, then the side that can build more drones wins. Does that make sense? Well, when the U.S. says we want to build 1 million drones and then 300 ASAP, that's America saying we want more ammo. It's also saying war could be on the way. If you understand that, now you understand where the money going. So stop thinking drone company and think drone stack. Now, before I get into the three companies I'm going to break down for you, I want you to think about this. There's 5 layers that you can get paid in the drone game. There's airframes, there's payloads, there's comms, and there's autonomy, which is software, targeting, who build the drone body, and then there's counter drone, which is jamming up and when it gets any type of detection is needed. In a drone race, you got to ask yourself, which level is needed? Well, all of them, because drones scale. And so defense must scale too. I'm giving you a breakdown. So the first company I talk about is RCAT. The company is up 45% year to date. It's around about $12. Now, RCAT operates differently. They focus on tactical drones. They focus on surveillance platforms. They focus on military-grade small drones and software and hardware integration. So think about ground-level battlefield utility. Think about recon. Think about border security. Think about special operations. This is where a company like this comes in at. And it's important because there's levels to how these drones will be used. Right. So the Pentagon isn't just scaling large aerial drones. That's just not it. They're scaling small, portable, mass deployable systems. The 300,000 that the Pentagon wants to use, that's cheap and fast. Well, that comment really says something. It favors the manufacturers that can rapidly produce, adapt hardware quickly, and supply law enforcement and defense. So RCAT, it becomes the small tactical category that we talked about. We talked about 5 different ways that drones go. Now, I think they truly have a really good moat because they are competing with Chinese drones. They're competing with everybody else. Why? Because they focus only on U.S.-approved secure systems, NDAA-compliant platforms, and defensive-friendly supply chains. So in a geopolitical environment, I want you to think about it like this. Chinese drones are restricted. U.S. compliant producers gain structural advantage, y'all. And so this is why I like this, because drones are essential now for 4 reasons. Now, before I get to the next company I'm going to talk about, I want you to think about this. Number 1, drones compress time decision. 2, they are expendable. Drones kind of shorten the kill chain, but they're expendable. Why? $500, take out a jet, we can produce more of them. So drones are what? Sacrificial. Number 3, they create constant surveillance. So whoever sees the thing first, that's who wins. And number 4, they break the cost structure down because war becomes an economic problem. So when you can use drones, who can afford to buy the most drones? And a swarm of cheap drones forced to destroy a specific enemy, need I say any more? So before I get into this company, I'm going to get there. I want you to think about something. Why did the U.S. suddenly wake up? Well, because modern conflict showed up in a different way. Small, but in a different way. Because drones now attack and destroy more armored vehicles than ever before without having human capital out there. This is not theory. This is the new reality of warfare. Drones are now being used as like swarms of bees, and they are attacking and they are sinking fighter jets. They're doing it all. This is why the Pentagon is pushing for drone dominance, which brings me to my second company, GFF, Grifton Corporation. Now, they are underestimated supplier. Now, this is what most investors miss is at. GFF isn't flashy. They manufacture, they engineer components, aerospace parts, industrial materials, defense adjacent hardware. Listen, they go what's called upstream. Now, I want you to think about this for a second because I like to paint the picture for y'all so y'all can see what's going on, right? If the U.S. scales drone production, 300,000, a million, or even mass procurement, I want you to think about this. You don't just need a drone builder. You need actually a competent and a component supplier. You need engine systems. You need structural material. You need electronic housing. You need manufacturing capacity. And guess who gets all that? GFF. Because they are a master at industrial production scaling. They don't need the headlines. They don't need the orders. They just need to know that drones are in demand. Now, when I look at a company like this, I say, okay, where is the moat at with this type of company? Well, they establish manufacturing and infrastructure. They have long-term aerospace relationships, operational scale, and they diversify in several different industries. So think about this, Fud. This is another layer I'm going to give you. Manufacturers cannot scale without demand. Well, this company can outperform with only a few companies because they have people in recurring revenue model. Now, most people going to look at this the wrong way. They're going to look at it as just a drone company, and that's where you're wrong. The smart money going to look at it as this is a company that builds systems, then they integrate the systems, and then they supply the components to the systems. So wars aren't won by software. They're won by logistics and production. And so we think about that company, GFF, they really position themselves well. Now, here's the part where not just investors, but when people looking at this whole environment, this is what they're going to miss. Drones now turn war into manufacturing debates. Not a one-time procurement, but a continuous production. Because drones get shot down, drones get jammed, drones get spoofed, drones crash, they need to get upgraded, they need to be replaced. That's why I told you GFF puts people on a recurring revenue model. So the winners are not the people who build the drones. It's the people who build the systems that reap the benefits of the drone. Oh my God. Let's say that again. It's the people who build the systems that the drones benefit from. They keep the drones in production. So what am I saying? I'm saying when the government says they want fast and cheap, that's a strategy. When the government says fast and cheap, that tells the companies, yo, we got to align. That means lower cost per unit. That means simplified designs. That means more modular overloads. That means scale manufacturing. That means vendor competition. That means rapid test cycles. All of these different businesses and all of these different companies come together. So here's the urgency that I think that we need to look at when we play this game. Because the U.S. is trying to close a gap. And I've said this a million times that America is responding to what everybody else is doing. Well, who has more military than us? Nobody. Well, 1 million drones, that forces a new industrial base. 1 million drones forces a bigger truth. This can't be slowed down. This forces public and private to rebuild. Breaking defense reports, pilot programs, we talking about new partnerships, all of this. Now, there's one company that I truly am leaning heavy toward when it comes to this drone manufacturing. It's none other than Kratos Defense, ticker symbol KTOS. They are the Rolls-Royce of military drone builders. Now, here's what they do. Tactical drones, that's the loyal wingman. Target drones, that's the shooter. Autonomous combat systems, and hypersonic missile launch technology. They're not hobby drones. They're 100% battlefield platforms. They specialize in low-cost drones, and that tells us one thing. They can produce a lot of drones at one time. So that 100 million, that matters because imagine these drones taking out a fighter jet. Hundreds of low-cost autonomous systems deployed simultaneously to take down a jet, to take down a huge aircraft, to take down a submarine. This is why KTOS wins, because they were probably going to be the number one provider of that 1 million drones. So when the Pentagon shifts from precise assets to scalable volume, they call in KTOS 100% because they already have DoD contracts. They work directly with the Air Force already, and they are embedded in autonomous flight programs already. They design a system that integrates to larger defensive programs. They're not retail. They are institutional defense infrastructure. And so when I look at these three companies, I'm telling myself, this is where the game is going to be played at. But then we look at KTOS, they have $1 million, multi-billion-dollar backlog. They have reoccurring defense contracts. They have high research and development and long-term procurement processes. That lets us know they're going to be big dog on the list. And so you think about them all together. I look at it like this. KTOS, they become the platform builder. RCAT, they become the tactical deployer. And then GFF, they become the supply chain. This is vertical exposure for us as investors. And that's how you build positioning instead of gambling. You look at the supply chain and you ask yourself, which one of these are out of everybody, what are the top 2 or 3 that I can use to put in my portfolio that can help me position? Now, I want you to think about this before I go. Defensive spending is political. Contracts are competitive. Margins vary. Small caps are volatile. But when that language shifts to quick, cheap, and scalable, that's not symbolic. That's manufacturing acceleration. And these 3 companies are what I'm looking at going into that. It's your boy, the Wall Street Trapper. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and make sure you share us to somebody, man. Salute.